Brass players, it's Mr. Brailsford here. I'm going to show you today about playing a piece that's in the grade 3 repertoire list called Slinky. The information I'm going to give you and the help I'm going to give you is for trombone, trumpet, baritone, tuba. All these instruments can use this particular piece for grade 3. Okay, it's written by Mark Nightingale and it's from Easy Jazzy Etudes. So first of all, I'm hoping that you've done your warm-ups, your buzzing and your breathing exercises. I'm going to put up on the screen in a moment the scale that you'll need to work on this. Now, so the video works for treble clef readers and bass clef readers, I'll tell you about the scale first of all. So for treble clef readers, you need to be able to play the scale of E minor, which is this one. So you'll see that scale in a bit. Now for bass clef readers, that is D minor. Okay, so for the trombone players or any euphonium players who may go in bass clef, you'll learn the scale of D minor. The other important thing that will help you in preparing to play Slinky is being able to play the arpeggio. So for the treble clef readers, it'll be the E minor arpeggio. And that will be the D minor arpeggio for the bass clef readers. You'll find that there are lots of arpeggios to be used within this piece, so that's quite important as well. So I'll put this music up on the screen for you now to have a look at, and then I'll come back to you in a second. Okay, so you've had a look at the two scales. Also, something useful for you, the high D for bass clef readers, that's open valves or first position, and the high E for treble clef readers, that would be a treble clef trombone would be first position, and it would be open valves on a trumpet. Okay, now the next piece of music that I'm going to put up is the actual piece, the Slinky, one in treble clef, one in bass clef. So you can have a look at that as well, and then I'll come back to you again. So see you in a minute. Okay, so there you've got the two pieces of music that you can choose which one's appropriate for you. Now, so that you get an idea of how to play this, I'm going to break this up into short sections. So I'm going to play for you the first line now. Here we go. Okay, you can feel that that's got quite a swingy feel to it. And if you look at the top of the music, it says swing. Now, to give the music a swing feel, you need to play the first quaver a little bit longer than the second quaver, and then the third quaver a little bit longer than the fourth one. That way you'll get that swingy feel that I've just played to you. A good way to get used to that first line is to play the arpeggio of E or D a few times, like I'm going to do now. Then play it in a swingy style. Yeah, you're getting that? so that that first quaver is a little bit longer than the second to give that effect. So that gives you some tips for the first line. Okay, you'll also notice that the first line and the third line are very, very similar. So once you've had a good look at the first line, the skills you've learnt in the first line, you'll be able to use in the third line. Let's focus now on the second line. Okay, the second line of music is not so based on the arpeggio, it's a little bit more stepwise. Second line goes like this, with the last quaver of the first line. Okay, if you look at the fourth line has got some similarities to the second line. So some of the skills that you'll learn on the second line, you'll learn on the fourth line as well. So you've got the scale and the arpeggio to try. You've then got to try in a swingy style, and then you can start to build up what you know. You'll also notice that there are some sharp notes in there. C sharps for bass clef readers and D sharps for treble clef readers. The C sharp for bass clef readers would be second valve or second position, and for treble clef readers the D sharp will be second valve or second position, so you can try that as well. But you'll learn about that whilst you're trying the scales that you're working on. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to play you the fourth line so you can see the difference between the fourth and the second line. Again, this is with the quaver before the fourth line. You'll notice when you're looking at the fourth line that there is a crescendo, a getting louder at the end. So that's something again that you can try and work on. I think the most challenging line is the fourth line, the last part of it as well. So that, that one would be a challenge for you to work through. Now then, I'm going to play you the first line and the third line so you can hear the similarities. First line. And now the third line. And you'll see that there are only 3 notes that are different on the third line to the notes on the first line, and they are at the end of the third bar when you're looking at that. Okay, so you've got scales to try, arpeggios to try. You've got some new music to look at, which is quite challenging. Remember, as you're going higher, you need to support the higher notes by making the breath come out of your mouth through your embouchure at a much faster speed. You have to tighten up your embouchure to try and get to the new higher notes. But if you try those skills within the scales and arpeggios first, then Slinky will be more accessible. It's a pretty tricky tune, but it's a really good one to learn. I'm going to play all of Slinky now, and then I'll recap what I've spoke to you about. So there's Slinky. Okay, so here's how to approach it. Look at your scales and arpeggios first. Make sure that you've warmed yourselves up so you're ready to tackle this piece. You won't get it straight away. Be perseverant and have patience. Try the first line. Try the third line. Then have a look at the second line. And then finally the fourth line, which is the most challenging. Remember that you've got a couple of new notes to be using. You've got for the bass clef readers, high D and high C sharp, and for the treble clef readers, high E and high D sharp. Second position, first position, second valve and open valves. So those are the things to work on. Remember as well your air, make sure your embouchure's nice and tight when you're going up high, and make it in a swingy style. And remember, to make something in a swingy style, just make the first quaver a little bit longer than the second one, so that the pattern is long, short, long, short, long, short, long, short, long, short, long, short, and it will give you the right style for the piece. Okay, so good luck with that. It's a very challenging piece, but I think the only way you'll do it is by having a little look at this video, break it down into little bits, try it, and then you can see where you go from. And if you like it, then I shall show you the book that you could use. It's called Easy Jazzy Etudes by Mark Nightingale. You can get it for bass clef and treble clef readers. Okay, nice to see you all again. We'll see you soon. Bye bye.